You know, when you're searching for a home, you just assume you're seeing everything that's for sale, right? But what if I told you there's a hidden war being fought behind the scenes? A war for information that could decide whether you ever even see your dream home.
So let's just ask it straight up. Is your dream home being hidden from you? It's a pretty intense question, and it gets right to the heart of what it feels like to buy a home. Are you really getting the full picture, or is a huge piece of the market being kept just out of your sight on purpose?
Because that's what's happening. This isn't some small disagreement over websites. It's a fundamental battle over your data, over transparency, and really, over who gets to control what you see when you're trying to find a home. So let's get into what's actually going on here.
Okay, first up, we need to talk about the Coming Soon Alliance. They've kicked this whole thing off with a new strategy that's really changing the game. It all starts right here, with a few companies that decided to, well, play by a new set of rules.
So who are we talking about? This alliance is made up of three pretty big names you've probably heard of: Rocket, Redfin, and Compass. And together, they've kicked off a strategy that has sent some major ripples across the entire real estate world.
Their weapon of choice in all this is the Coming Soon listing. So, what is that exactly? Well, these are homes that are being marketed to people like you before they officially hit the main database, the MLS, that almost all agents and websites rely on. And the most important part of that definition, that little phrase, limited information.
And this is where it gets interesting. Here's the core of their strategy. Compass starts sending its Coming Soon listings straight to Redfin. But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. As they pass that information along, they are intentionally holding back specific, really important pieces of data.
So what are they hiding? Well, it's two of the most important things any buyer wants to know: how long a house has been for sale, and if the price has ever dropped. I mean, that's the kind of information that gives you, the buyer, some real negotiating power. And the Alliance, well, they want to keep it off your screen.
All right, so that's the Alliance's move, but as you can probably guess, it didn't go unnoticed. Now let's talk about the push for openness, because the rest of the industry is fighting back hard. There's a really powerful counter-movement from people who think this whole strategy goes against the very idea of an open market.
And this pushback is coming from pretty much all sides. First, you've got Zillow, the biggest fish in the pond, who basically banned these kinds of private listings. Second, there are industry rules, like the Clear Cooperation Policy, which exists specifically to stop this from happening. And third, even governments are getting involved now, with states like Washington passing actual laws to protect transparency.
And this chart, it just shows you exactly why Zillow's move is such a massive deal. The Alliance is sending listings to Redfin, which gets about 50 million users a month. I mean, that's a ton of people. But Zillow gets a mind-blowing 230 million. By keeping listings off the MLS, and so off Zillow, sellers could be invisible to a gigantic pool of potential buyers.
Which brings us to the real heart of the matter: secrecy versus transparency. Because this isn't just a business squabble, you know? At its core, this is a clash between two totally different philosophies about how the real estate market should even work.
So let's just lay it all out. The Alliance's side of the story is that this is a way for sellers to kind of test the market without leaving a public record of price changes. They're implying that hiding this info is actually an advantage. But the other side argues this is just taking us back to the old murky days of real estate, and that limiting information on a huge scale is just bad for everyone involved. And this quote from OB Jacobi, who's the co-president of Windermere Real Estate, it just sums up the whole argument for openness perfectly. The belief is pretty simple. A totally transparent market, where everyone sees the same data, is the best and, frankly, the fairest way to help both buyers and sellers. So finally, let's bring this all back home. What does this mean for you? We've talked about the companies, the arguments, the data, but what does this hidden war actually mean for you, the person just trying to buy or sell a house? Well, the bottom line is pretty stark. If you're a buyer, it means you might be missing out on homes that are actually for sale, just because you're looking on the wrong website. If you're a seller, your home could be invisible to the vast majority of the market. And for everyone, it means the basic rules of how we find a home online are being completely rewritten right under our feet.
So really, the entire industry is at a crossroads. Is it going to be a future of open, transparent data that everyone can access? Or are we heading towards a future of segregated data where companies create these little walled gardens of information, and you have to know which garden to look at?
And that leaves us with one last, really big question to chew on. In a world where technology is changing everything so fast, who do you think should control the flow of information when you search for a home? The companies, the agents, or you?
It's a question that is absolutely going to define the future of real estate.